To make sure that this particular script or the most basic form of agent that I'm trying to build has access to the recent knowledge, I'm enabling the web search feature as well. So if it doesn't find anything relevant within the vector store, it's going to use the tool of web search and it's going to fetch in the information and feed it to me. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video within the Generative AI tool series. And in this video, we'll be talking about the recently released Responses API by OpenAI itself. And it's considered to have a very deep impact into the AI community. So you would hear a lot of people say that agentic frameworks or agentic workflows is the future. And that makes sense. It would be cool to have different agents and they're sort of interacting with each other alongside with their unit of work. So makes sense. And Response API is like the very first step towards that, not just for OpenAI, but as a community in general. So let's talk about how does it differ from chat completion itself, which is like the most heavily used API within the OpenAI landscape. So, and what eventually does Responses API offer? So there are few list of capabilities like text generation. It's available in chat completion API and Responses API. But if you just see this part here, so these tool specific things like file search, which was only available in Assistance API, or computer use, which is like an independent thing and recently released. It's not a part of chat completion, and code interpreter itself, which is also available in the Assistance API. But these things are readily available over here. And obviously, chat completion does have an audio feature, and within Responses API, it's coming soon. Code interpreter is coming soon. And that's why I'm saying like it's the very first step towards the agentic workflows. So Responses API actually cater these three scenarios. You can use web search, you can use file search, and in this video we'll be making a little snippet where I would actually demonstrate that how you can use these tools along with the Responses API. And within this particular documentation page, you would also find their code snippets and the differences, the existing differences between them within chat completion API and Responses API. So there's not much, but there are some intricate differences, which I'll also talk about once we dive into the code. But here's a question, like, what's the reason of having Responses API when you have chat completion and you have Assistance API? So what is OpenAI trying to do? So here's the game plan. So eventually, they have also declared it and they have announced it that they're going to sunset the Assistance API in the very first, couple of months of 2026. So probably they will be releasing some, migration guide. So if you have Assistance, you'll be moving them to Responses API once it get matured as well. So as far as chat completion is concerned, it's still here since it's the most heavily used feature. So they cannot just sunset it. So they're going to keep it, and Responses API will be the future, and it acts like a very foundational layer of building agents upon it. So any agent that you build, and we will demonstrate in the upcoming videos. The next video is going to be on agents and how you can use the recently released Agents SDK to build, multiple agents and let them interact with each other. So yeah, we'll talk about that. That comes later. But for this particular video, all you need to understand is like this is primitive layer. This is primitive, functionality for OpenAI, and everything would be built upon it. So that's about it. You can probably go through, this part of documentation. But let's go towards the fun part. Let's build something out of it now. All right, so I'm in my VS Code and I have a script ready, which is like a very, early level, a very basic form of agent for Marvel Cinematic Universe, since I'm a big fan. So yeah. So I'm just going to walk you through. So we have some standard stuff over here, import OS, and I'm importing OpenAI from OpenAI. I need .env because I need to hook up my OpenAI keys, which I've stored in the envs. So this is where I initialize my client, and this is where the real action happens. So I'm going to hook up the gist of this script, the GitHub gist of this script along within my description. So if you guys want to try out um, responses API, so you can just use this particular code. So now everything, if you're using chat completion and if you're coming from a background of using chat completion abundantly, so this would be quite similar to you. So all that has changed is like client.responses, and then you get to create your thing. And one thing in particular that you can see that you have this tools, input parameter in which you're defining the rest of the stuff. And I'll talk about that in a bit. So now responses API lets you use the vector store itself, which was only accessible through assistants API. So once you create an assistant, you would dump down some files, and automatically they would be stored in the vector store. And the only way to sort of reference that vector store was through assistants themselves. So but now you can create your own vector store, and you can drop in as many files as you want, and you can reference that vector store within these tools. So now when you actually initiate this piece of code, this would actually refer to your vector store. So let's see that over here. So I've created this testing store, and this is the ID of my store, and this is the only thing that's like useful for me in terms of referencing it. So I have dropped this particular document. So this is like history of Marvel Universe. Hey, Spider-Man. So it has a whole timeline, like which movies were released. Even the earliest one, like Ant-Man 1962, 1963, Iron Man. I need to watch this. I just saw this. So fast forward, you have a couple of, phase one. This is where Iron Man 1 was released, and all through 2020. Now it has the knowledge for 2020, but it doesn't have the knowledge ahead of 2020. So what I've done is like I've dropped this particular file within the vector store, and that's the only file that I'm going to that I'll be using within my code base. But to make sure that this particular script, or the most basic form of agent that I'm trying to build, has access to the recent knowledge, I'm enabling the web search feature as well. So if it doesn't find anything relevant within the vector store, it's going to use the tool of web search, and it's going to fetch in the information and feed it to me. So for that, so this is the type that would be used, web search preview. There's a little bit of detail about the search context size. Now, this is not the context window being referenced. This is search context size, like how much information is your model pulling in from the web. So you can, keep it low, medium, or high. I'm keeping it low because I just need, a few records. And you have a feature where you can enable the user location. So for example, certain questions, if you have an e-commerce store within like China, so you would want information around China. So you don't want the whole thing around the web. So you just want to laser focus this one particular country or one particular region, or even, province or state, whatever. So in this particular case, I've typed in like I need just approximate user location, country US, city Texas, and region Austin. One bit of a detail because of which I got stuck while writing this code is like in country, you cannot just type in USA, you cannot just type in your country names. So it only accepts, specific country codes, which should be ISO 3166-1, and these are the list of codes that you can use. So it only accepts that. So just make sure that you know that. And so that's everything about the web search feature. And along with the web search, I'm also hooking up the file search, which I just explained that, it goes to my vector store and it references this particular document. If it finds something useful, it's going to show up and it's going to send me, that information along with the annotations within the response. So that's one cool feature. So this is my vector store ID. So this is right here, right? Hope that makes sense. And max number of results, I just need 2. And one great feature is the filtration mechanism. Now you can also filter on particular term, which I think this is a good addition for vector store. So in filtration, I'm just creating a rule equal key type and value MCU. Now I know it's not a very you can change this as per your need because so this is like filtering based on the metadata. And my input here is like, what are the upcoming movies in 2025 and 2026 in the MCU, right? Hence, since I've used MCU over here, I'm using MCU over here. Let's say if I had like, MCU, which has Iron Man, who is dead. So since I've used Iron Man now, I would sort of change this with Iron Man. So it can reference the document, search the term Iron Man, right? So that's the whole, idea of the filtration mechanism. So I'm just gonna stick to this and I'm gonna go back to my terminal and let me just, yeah. And I'm going to run it, Python OpenAI response API. This might take a while. All right, so I have my response. Let's check it out. So here we go. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe has an exciting lineup of movies scheduled for and it sort of fetched everything. So Captain America Brave New World, February 14, 2025. I haven't watched it, but heard it's bad. Thunderbolts, kind of excited about that. Ironheart, Fantastic Four, probably this is where Robert Downey Jr. shows up, hopefully. Eyes of Wakanda. So as you can see, we have everything stated over here. So in my previous run, so once I I ran this before. So as you can see, it also gave me some bit of information. I couldn't find any information on the upcoming MCU movies for 2025, 2026 in the files provided. Let me search the web for the latest details. So that's how it goes. So the thing about Responses API is that it is based on semantic events. So the kind of tools you provide, for every usage of that tool, an event would be fired. And basically, this is the framework which will be a baseline layer for agents. Since obviously, if you're using an agent, you would want your AI to be responsible. Ever heard about that? Responsible AI is like one of the popular terms these days, where a person using AI should be able to track or trace the responses or the way a particular model has behaved or how that particular model concluded that particular solution. So that's very important because when we will reach that particular point where AI is responsible, it's only then where we can see AI in production, which is kind of less these days. So that's the whole concept about responses API, and I think this is a great new feature by OpenAI. It's a game changer because it would let you create agents, and in the upcoming videos, we'll also learn how we can create agents and how we can trace their thinking capabilities or how they concluded a particular solution. So it's going to be exciting for me to actually create the next bunch of videos and kind of you know quite a lot of stuff to learn. So yeah, stay tuned. Exciting times to be alive in, and I hope you like this video. Thank you so much for watching.